3 minutes to go before we open this market, and the Nasdaq is the standout. It's up 200 points as we approach the opening bell. David Nicholas joins us. Let's talk about a black swan. Do you see a possible war in the Mideast between Israel and Iran? Could that be a black swan event that just comes out of nowhere and upsets everything?
Stuart, unfortunately it is. I think it's a great reminder of what's happening. What could be happening, unfortunately, is that U.S. stocks are not in a bubble. You could do everything right in Atlanta, Georgia, or New York City as an investor, save for retirement, and some yahoo halfway around the world decides to attack Israel, could lead to a global sell-off. So one of the most critical, though, impacts of this conflict is how it impacts oil prices. So if you just look at what oil prices have done in the last week, oil is up 9% in the last week. The S&P is up only 2.5%. So it's a really, I think, a big fear for the markets, especially oil, that if this conflict escalates, it could really get bad for global markets, Stuart.
I would be a buyer of energy and defense contractors with that kind of war looming in the Mideast, right?
Yeah, look, we really like energy. We like defense contractors. If you just take ExxonMobil, they had earnings here recently. We're finally seeing some earnings growth. We're seeing 9%, 10% growth year over year for earnings for Exxon. We're finally seeing really strong, steady forecasts from them. Also, Lockheed Martin is another great defense contractor, had a great earnings here recently. Revenue was up 9% year over year. They're sitting on $1.5 billion of free cash flow. So these are companies. Look, and Stuart, we get calls from clients all the time. They watch your show. David, I'm nervous. Where should I put money to work? So if you're nervous, I think you can confidently put money to work in energy names and defense contractors here and sit back, get a nice dividend, and see how this all plays out, Stuart.
You know, this market today seems to be driven by the positive inflation numbers, the cooling of inflation. Is it going to stay that way? The market likes this cooling of inflation, last throughout the day?
Stuart, this is a big week. A lot's going to be riding on tomorrow, though. So we have CPI tomorrow. We have retail sales later this week. So these are the big three. If we can hit it out of the park on all three, I think that is going to be good for U.S. markets. Again, you have geopolitical risks in the background. You have the election in the background. These are all outside factors that will impact volatility for the markets. But if we have a good week, if we hit 3 for 3 out of the park, Stuart, it's going to be great for stocks.
If we do hit 3 for 3, knock it out the park, could we have a melt-up?
I think the market is still uncertain with the elections, but I think you would at least see us a recovery to where the market was a week ago or 2 weeks ago for the big sell-off, Stuart.
All right. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. David Nicholas. We'll see you again real soon.